ladies and gentlemen, what we are going to do today is, like Sir said, we are going to talk about grooming, and we are also going to talk about. I'm going to touch briefly upon dress deportment because I feel grooming cannot be separated from it, and I'll also be talking about. Good afternoon to everybody, and I'll also be talking about etiquette. So now the word etiquette is. I will of course be touching upon etiquette, and it is a very vast topic, but I have kind of attempted to extract professional etiquette from the vast area, the vast ocean of etiquette, and within that I've tried to divide it into different aspects and parts, like online meeting etiquette, telephone etiquette, handshake etiquette, cubicle etiquette, to share quickly some tips which are very helpful in being in, in parity with the common underlying principles of etiquette of the area or the cultural background that we hail from. Of course, there are going to be handouts for the sessions which I've already shared with Sir, which provide you with a gist or a summary of what all we are going to cover today. But before we dive into the session, I'd like to share with you something of a video, which I felt was quite awe-inspiring and thought-provoking for me. I'll play it here, and hopefully we'll be able to hear it also. So while we're waiting for the video, we can start with discussing the topic today. And I'd like to begin first with talking about dress, deportment, and grooming. As I said, I will talk very briefly about the dress and deportment aspect of it, but I cannot separate it from grooming. So, where does this whole idea or concept of grooming, self presentation, etiquette, and manners emerge from? It emerges from the aspect or the understanding that we should be valuing ourselves. We should understand that our body, that all the faculties which are inbuilt or which are available to us for this body, through this body, are our resources. And we need to utilize them, take care of them, and maintain them with an utmost sense of responsibility and gratitude for these resources. So, when we approach this aspect from that perspective, it becomes easier for us to take care of ourselves. I have found that youngsters, your students, to whom you would be sharing this knowledge or whom you all would be guiding, sharing a little bit of techniques or tips that I've shared here today, they are those people who are given into a lot of influence and a lot of uh, oblique, protracted, or delusioned view of life and reality, because internet has happened to them in their lifetime. They were born into the internet era, and then going forward, most of them in their growing up and the years in which they were extremely susceptible to influence and persuasion and impact, they have had exposure to social media. And this entire new way of life, this entire new scheme of things has also exposed them to a very protracted view of reality, and they start feeling that that there's certain way of carrying themselves, a certain way of taking care of themselves, certain way of presenting themselves, grooming, etiquette is acceptable because it is acceptable on screen, being unaware of the fact that whatever they see on the screen, although it comes across as a live recording or recording of someone's real life situations, yet it is fabricated, yet it is thought, schemed, and manipulated and presented for the camera, and then leashed out for mass consumption. So, as teachers, as role models, we need to keep harping for them what is the right conduct, what is the right way to take care of themselves, and what is the right way to present themselves in every situation. And they shouldn't be mindful of it, or they shouldn't become aware of this necessity only when the stakes are high, like getting into an interview room, or perhaps, uh, reaching out to a person whom they view as a prospective partner, or something of that sort. Every moment, every time, every day, every week, we are presented with multiple opportunities to evolve ourselves into being better, to progress from the present level to the next level of our being. And that opportunity will only come to us if we have, in that moment, put our best foot forward. So here there is a quote by a very famous and an acclaimed philosopher and a thinker, Tom Hopkins, who has said, "You are your greatest asset." And sadly, youngsters these days do not realize that. They feel that value lies outside. And once that outside is something that they're able to grab or connect with or possess, like a well paying job with a huge pay packet, salary package, a swanky car, multiple holidays in exotic locations, or something which is so materialistic and something which is so ephemeral, which is so banal in its nature, has value. No, that's not correct. The value is them. They are their greatest asset, and they need to be mindful of it. It is said that, one has 100 problems, which could include not having a job, not having a loving family, not having a shelter, or not having enough money. But if one loses their health, then one has only one problem, and that is not having good health. And good health is taking care of ourselves, and it is not only physical health. WHO defines health as physical, mental, emotional, and social health, to which I'd also like to add spiritual health, because very we are very hollow, we are very shallow if we do not think of ourselves as a spirit that has a soul and that is using this physical body as its instrument. We are not a body with a soul and a spirit. It is the spirit that has its vehicle, has its instrument as the soul, and the soul has its vehicle as the body. So we need to value this greatest asset that we've been blessed with. We need to put our time, effort, and money into training, grooming, and encouraging your greatest asset. We need to invest in ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves. Upkeep and maintenance is required. Chances are, if you ask the youngsters, what is it that they do for themselves? How much time do they take out for their own training, grooming, and encouraging themselves? You would find there hardly 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes, maybe, or perhaps 10-15 minutes that they take to take a shower. Or in case of maybe some girls or women, or maybe in case of some men also, it can be an hour, maximum an hour or an hour and a half, but not more than that. And even when they invest that much of time out of the 24 hours, in which, if they are sleeping for 6 hours or if they are sleeping for 8 hours, one fourth to one third of their day is spent in just sleep. In context of that, in perspective of that, the time that they're allocating to their own grooming, training, and encouraging is minuscule, ladies and gentlemen. Ask them to put into perspective, how are they investing in their own greatest asset? Thank you, sir.
से टूटी पतंग जैसे थी ये जिंदगानी मेरी। आज हूँ कल हो मेरा ना हो, हर दिन थी कहानी मेरी। ये जिंदगानी सागा बनी जानी जिंदगानी मेरी। आज कल हो मेरा ना हो, हर दिन की कहानी मेरी। जगा बनी जगा बनी जानी बनी जानी बमगा बनी जगा जानी बमगा जगा बनी जानी बमगा जगा बनी जगा जानी बमगा। कल माशाल्लाह आपकी और आप गाओगे मैं रिकॉर्ड कर सकता हूँ, रिकॉर्ड करूँ। जगा गा बाबा जानी जानी दा बाबा गरी गरी जानी जानी गा बाबा जानी जानी बनी रे जानी दा बाबा गरी 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 जानी गा बाबा बाबा गरी गा बाबा जानी जानी दा बाबा गरी गरी जानी जानी। हर घड़ी बदल रही है रूप जिंदगी, छाँव है कभी कभी है धूप जिंदगी। हर पल यहाँ जी भर जियो, जो है समा कल हो न हो। बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया। हाथ मिलाना चाहता हूँ। नाश्ता किया अंकल आपने?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you were able to view. And now, can you, any one of you, unmute and share, or let me know what do you think was happening here? Who was singing in the video, and what is your understanding of the video? Any one of you would like to? Yes, yes. Go ahead.
That was Sonu Nigam. And
Yes.
he is performing in the state.
Yes. So he that was in the video was Sonu Nigam, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and he was singing.
Yes.
Great. Anybody else has any other observation? He was singing on the roadside. So how many people do you think stood by? At the end, we saw a crowd. How many do you think would have been there? 15? Yes? 15 or 20 people? Yeah, 20 plus people. So Trivedi sir here says there were 20 plus people. And please imagine or conjure a guess, ladies and gentlemen, if we were holding a concert of Sonu Nigam and we were selling out, or he was selling out tickets, about 20 to 25. He was selling out tickets. How many people would have turned up for that concert? Purchased those tickets and turned up for the concert? 25? 30?
Yes. Lakhs.
50,000?
Yeah, more than lakhs.
More than lakhs? Yes.
That's,
Lakhs of people.
the tickets will sell in black.
They would sell in black. So what happened here? He was here sitting on the roadside singing for free for all of us. If they knew, so Rahul sir here says, if they knew he was the Sonu Nigam, people would have black marketed the ticket. Yes, there was no ticket here. He was singing for free here on the roadside. Yet so many times we saw that passerbys did not have time to stop and pay him a listen. Why do you think that opportunity was not given to him, ladies and gentlemen? What would have been the core difference between Sonu Nigam on roadside and Sonu Nigam on the stage in concert?
Is the difference of his face value?
His face value, as in the way his face looked and the get up, the dressing up, attire.
Yeah.
Yes, and the way he was carrying himself also. So even if he had dressed up like a beggar or a street side singer who wasn't doing very well, who came from a very humble background, his walk or the gait was also the image that he presented to the public. Jitendra sir is saying, yes. So the way he was walking and carrying his, rucksack and also his harmonium did not express with elan that I am the Sonu Nigam. It was a very modest, humble, meek gait, right, ladies and gentlemen? So this in itself presented the biggest difference as to how people perceived him. Like one of us just now said, that had we known that he is the Sonu Nigam singing for us for free on the roadside, we would have definitely stopped there and given him a listen. Later on in the video, it's available on YouTube. This was a social experiment carried out by Sonu Nigam and the organizers for his show. I think his live concert was happening after many years. So they had done this social experiment to understand how people perceive. Yes, everything is dependent upon our presentation to the others and how much value they perceive in us, right? So this was proven true in this experiment. Later on, when you watch this video, you will find that Sonu Nigam says that the boy who was recording his voice and who later shook his hands, मैं आपसे हाथ मिलाना चाहता हूँ, without letting anybody else know, in his grasp, in his fist, he was holding 12 rupees. And while shaking hands, he gave it to Sonu Nigam, passed it on without knowing that it is Sonu Nigam. And he asked him towards the end of this video, खाना खाया क्या आपने? That kind of assumption, perception developed in a person's mind for the greatest singer, living singer that we have amongst ourselves. Perhaps that is my own opinion. But someone whose shows go packed to packed houses, not only in India but outside India, only because he chose to present himself in a different manner. So many times our own students are not aware of their own value. This whole idea or this whole culture of seeking value, finding value elsewhere, especially on a small screen of a mobile phone or in an influencer, has made them look away, has made them totally unaware of their own value. If they were to spend time, effort, and energy in polishing themselves, in taking care of themselves and presenting themselves in the best manner possible at every moment in time, they would find that value, that sense of accomplishment within themselves, and that would make them turn their mirror inwards and be aware of what is it that they have and what is it that they can work with and how can they improve what they already have, and that will lead to the snowball effect, or that would be lead to the wheel turning in their favor, wherein they start focusing on academics, start focusing on their communication skills, their life skills, their soft skills, and prepares them for a journey of success. So Reshni ma'am here, or S Reshni here, has raised their hand. Is there something that you like to say? Please go ahead and unmute yourself and say. Oh, that was my mistake. That's okay, ma'am. So, ladies and gentlemen, coming back to my PPT, I would like to stress upon you that when you talk to your students, please share this video with them and let them know that there are so many aspects of their own self that they are not aware of at present. And let's come back to the slide that I was displaying before this whole managing of playing the video was happening. So dress is an important aspect of it. Just now in the video, grooming comprises our dress. We can be well groomed, but if our clothes are not in a in a good state or condition, if they are not neat, if they are not clean, it is not necessary that they need to be ironed, but they need to be clean. They need to give off an air or an impression of someone who is healthy, who's aware of self hygiene, and who will turn out to be an efficient worker or a productive person to occupy the present role and fulfill the responsibility that will come to them through this opportunity. And of this comprises our attire, our hair, our footwear, our accessories. Footwear is a very important thing because impression about our internal personality, intrinsic personality, not our outward behavior, are made through our feet. Usually, people or youngsters pay a lot of attention to their face and the upper part of the body. Yes, we know that a lot of attention and effort and energy has gone there. So, someone who's observing people or evaluating them to know their intrinsic personality will look at those forgotten or often neglected aspect of the dress, which will we give away clues or signs of how much investment has one done of time and energy, not money, of time and energy in taking care of themselves, in fulfilling or training themselves with soft skills and life skills. And shoes are the biggest giveaway of your intrinsic personality. I have seen Singla sir, I have met him so many times in Knitter. His role or his job does not demand him to wear laced up formal shoes every day, but never ever have I seen him, even when he's working on a Saturday or a Sunday, to be out of his proper formal clothes and not wearing his formal shoes. That is very important. That helps in us developing a good comfortable gait and conveying a sense of authority and seriousness to the other person. I have found with the new trend of wearing sneakers with suits, with formal dinner jackets and trousers, youngsters also like to copy that trend. But then when they turn up for interviews, enter the interview room, they feel so fidgety and uncomfortable in the formal shoes because perhaps that's the first time they've worn those shoes. And that discomfort builds up or enhances the sense of anxiety and nervousness that they're already feeling. Why? Because they're going to be sitting in the hot chair of the interviewee and facing the personal interview, which has a very high stake, either further admissions in a very good university or a job offer out of their dream company. So in ensuring that they not only spend or invest in their dress, their attire, their hair, their accessories, but also in a good pair of shoes, a formal pair of shoes where they know how to tie the laces, how to polish the shoes, how to take care, conveys a lot about their seriousness and the depth of character that they have when it comes to taking the load of responsibility. When we wear clothes, it is better to convey a sense of sophistication and a sense of traditions, a deep rooted sense of traditions and customs that is a part of our personality. But we cannot convey a sense of deep rooted culture and cultural traditions and customs that we follow, and we are aware of them, and we are using the past or the learning of the experience or learnings of our experienced ancestors to give wind to our flight in the future when we are wearing casual clothes or when we are wearing something which is so trendy and in fashion these days. That conveys something that is occupying the fad of the people or is the flavor of the month in the present time. It may or may not stand the test of time. It may or may not be classic in nature. It may or may not have classical values attached to it. That is The sense, that is the meaning that is conveyed by a dress which is well tailored, has good details, is classic, and is supported by classic accessories. So this kind of information should also be shared with your students. Now here I present to you an example of how to wear shirts, which shirt is good, and what should be the length of the cuffs, and how should be the shape of the collars. And usually when we appear for a day interview, we always wear a light colored shirt and we wear dark colored trousers, because we might have to wait and sit for a long time, so we do not develop sweat marks, or we do not show grime and other dirt on our trousers, which is the area that will come maximum in contact with the other surface. So, and in any case, we are mindful and careful of our tops, our top wear. So that is why wearing a light shirt, light colored shirt, and wearing a dark trousers is helpful. There is, of course, a detailed session only on dress and formal dressing, but this can be a good idea or a good input for your students to begin thinking about formal dressing. They cannot be showing signs of discomfort when they are wearing, a formal pair of trousers and a formal pair of shirt and a formal shirt. Today, in today's day and age, I have not seen a youngster. Both my children are beyond teens. The younger one, a boy of 18, and the elder one, a girl of 23. I have not seen them wearing formal clothes ever in so many years now. And I really, really doubt whether they will be able to carry off a formal piece of clothing, a formal attire ever, when the situation presents itself. So it is very important that they should know how to wear a tailored trouser, how it buttons up, and how should be the girth, and how it should fall on their ankles. It should not be showing their ankles, which is the latest fad and is not acceptable for formal dressing. These are small, small things that can be taught to them, which convey a huge sense and impression about grooming. Again, here there is a small pictographical representation of acceptable formal dressing for both men and women. You will find this in the handout that is shared with you. And this is something that can be shared as a starting point for reference for your students. If you'll notice here, the hair is well kempt. It does not have, the flouncy puffs on the head for the men, and neither is women's hairs here in this picture done up in intricate curls or very elaborate, intricate hairstyling. It is very minimalistic, conveying a sense of efficiency and quick action, proactive approach to work. This is again a very detailed picture that talks about the acceptable norms for Western formal dressing. Of course, there is Indian formal dressing as well, something that I am wearing today, which you can make out from the part of my body that is visible. That is also acceptable as formal dressing for women. Now, let's talk about deportment. Deportment is that non-verbal communication that goes out from us, which is information about us of conscious or subconscious bodily gestures, postures, and the like, that tells about us, our present state of mind, and our attitude, and our perception and perspective to things. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to recall through your previous interaction with the subject of communication that 93% of our communication is non-verbal in nature. That much, that big chunk, and of that deportment, which is gestural communication, holds such an important and a huge part. So we need to be careful about how we are sitting, how we are carrying ourselves, how we are walking. Most of the times we feel that when we are in the company of the others, or when we know that we are in the scrutiny and the observation of the others, we will be able to manage ourselves. But that is farther from the truth. When there is a surge of emotions, especially emotions that pin us to the wall, in the like the situation that is created for us in the interview room, or a high stake situation, the emotions get the better of us. And at that time, we forget how we were supposed to sit or how we were supposed to carry a polite smile. If that is not developed as part of an ingrained character trait, and that ingrained character trait can only happen if we discipline ourselves and keep repeating that input to ourselves, that even if I'm sitting alone, I do not have to sit alone with a frown on my face. I do not have to sit by looking deeply into my phone and having no expressions on my face. There is a study by a UK based organization that found out that most 90% of teens in the UK and most of the population in the UK is suffering from depression and a state of happylessness, sadness. And this has come because they have separated or they have segregated themselves from any kind of social and human contact, which has been completely ruled out from their life. The need for it has been ruled out from their life because they have the screen for their company. The screen does not expect them to give non-gestural cues for a conversation to happen. The constant stimulation and the artificial release of endorphins that usually happen, and oxytocin, these two chemicals are released in our body when we are having a warm conversation with someone who gladdens our heart. Even a stranger, and having a warm conversation with the stranger can gladden our heart, and it can release oxytocin, endorphins, and other happy hormones. But then this artificial release is stimulated by the screen, which is, which is displaying new content or content that is somewhat engaging for our front part of the brain, and releasing these in an artificial manner. So they have lost the ability to smile, they have lost the ability to make eye contact, they have lost the ability to make meaningful conversations, they have lost the ability to take care of themselves, to look at themselves and see what is good and my appearance and what is disheveled and unkempt in my appearance. So we need to bring home to them the decorum, the diktats, the rules of deportment and grooming. Why? Because it will help them to focus on themselves rather than focus outside. Invest in themselves. What else is this life for? And like I was saying, this is the composition of our communication, and non-verbal communication is, you will see, 93 words are only 7%. So body language is major part of our communication, and it has a greater effect on us. As cavemen, we had one person coming, running from this direction, going to the other direction, fear writ large on the face. And we saw that caveman, that other person of our tribe, running from this direction, going to that, without waiting for him to stop or stopping him. Without a second thought, we would run in the direction which he ran. Why? Because his face communicated to us that there is some danger or threat in the other direction. We better save ourselves by moving there. So that is how it is deeply embedded in our genetic code, that these codes of conduct, the codes of deportment and body language, and they add more meaning to us. These are different aspects in which you can take care of your body language, but I'm not going to take it up deeply because that's not the real or the actual topic of today's session. I have only shared it here because it is part of grooming, and this is in my understanding that dress, deportment need to be included in grooming. Otherwise, you are ready, you're well groomed, well turned out for what? To go out into the world, to interact with the world, to offer the best that you have to the world, and to engage with the best that is available outside in the world. These, of course, will be available to you in the handout, so I'm skipping over this. Now, let's come to the next aspect of grooming or deportment, and that is a handshake. I lament to say that again, because of restricted social contact, the importance of a handshake has been forgotten. So many decisions in the past, even today, are made not by fighting wars on the border, but sitting across from a table, agreeing to a treaty and shaking hands on it. This is the import and the importance of the gesture of handshake. But today's generation is unaware. They offer a limp hand to shake, or their hands are wet and clammy, or they don't know whether to hold the other person's hand in a soft grip, hard grip. How many times should I shake it? But a lot can be uh, judged, or a lot can be discerned about the other person, their self confidence, their ability to perform, especially in challenging situations, from the way they shake their hands. And we must train them to shake hands. It is possible to tell things. George W. Bush says it's possible to tell things by a handshake. It is like the looking in the eye syndrome. So when you make eye contact, there is sharing of information and shared meaning. It conveys in stress. That is what is the import of a handshake. I like the firm, though not bone crushing shake. The bone crusher is trying too hard to macho it. The clammy or defeated handshake, that I'm not interested, I don't know how to shake hands, fairly or unfairly, get me off to a bad start with the person. Do you see? Just the first interaction is so important. Recently, I saw a clip on social media wherein Trump and the French premiers, play with hands, where the hand is kept on whose knee, and how they are fidgeting with each other's hand, is something which is part of the scrutiny by the media or the journalistic world of the globe, to understand the hidden meaning, and will there be a treaty, will they come together, will they not. That much information is withheld within the handshake. So that is why we need to know, as part of our deportment, how to hold our arms, our hands, not only our gaze, our voice, our face, but also our leg and feet. So deportment consists of all the gait, the posture, and the synchronicity between our words and what we mean, or how we are saying them. This all needs to be synchronized. And ladies and gentlemen, why that needs to be done is to build your self image. You need to join the smile, firm handshake, and compliment club. This has to happen. The youngsters today are unaware and totally uneducated about when it comes to smiling, handshaking, and also complimenting, because they have been interacting with an inanimate screen for most of their times, or when they let loose, they are so casual, and, if I may use the word, so uncivilized. My own children are so uncivilized in their own conduct when they are with their friends, because that's the only two areas of interaction for them, interacting with the others, unknown people of different age groups through a screen, and interacting with their friends who, like them, are incapacitated for any kind of meaningful, deeper social interaction. Now, coming to grooming. Why is grooming important? Grooming is important because we send out a message about ourselves and the value that we attach to ourselves through the way we have groomed ourselves. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, grooming cannot happen just, one day in a month or one day in a week. Of course, extra attention to certain aspects of grooming can happen on particular specific selected days of the week or days of the month. But grooming is a continuous process, because sometimes the damage done to our physical body, our emotional state, and our spiritual well being is so much, is so beyond repair, that if there is no regular upkeep and maintenance of it through grooming, we could have lost a lot of our resources, a lot of our wealth, by ignoring and neglecting our grooming. So it not only encompasses taking care of one's appearance to maintain clean and tidy looks, but it always fills us up with a sense of confidence, with a sense of resourcefulness, that today I'm feeling the best because I've taken the best care of myself. I know I'm wearing the best set of clothes. They are neat, they are tidy. My hair is clean, it is perfectly tied up or combed. My shoes are in a good condition. I am organized with my backpack, with all the material that I'm supposed to be carrying to the class or to this meeting. My breath is clean. My face is also looking neat and tidy, so I can do it. And then this sense of I can do it is conveyed in loud and blaring 93% of our communication. There is no choice but to agree with us, with the beholder or the other person who comes into contact with us. Aspects of grooming are not only taking care of our body, it is also taking care of our emotions. Why? Because thoughts are something that are external or that are continuous in our mind, because it is the mind and it will till the time we are alive, we have this life and breath within our bodies. The mind, which is not a visible tangible organ but an invisible organ that controls our body, will continue to have thoughts. But whether or not to act upon those thoughts, whether or not to consider those thoughts and then to consider them seriously, will only happen if we attach emotions or feelings to those thoughts. If I feel, oh, that person, I have a thought, oh, my friend just bought a new car. That's a thought. I must also get a new car. I feel so disadvantaged without a new car. And what would she think? And do I hold myself in good self esteem if I also cannot buy a new car? See the baggage of emotions that has been attached to the thought. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will trigger an action and response within me. I'll start looking at my corpus, how much are the savings, how much can I take as a loan, which car do I want to buy, whom do I approach for buying a car, should I reach out to my husband that he should finance my next car, or should I look at my own finances and try and arrange a good car without thinking whether I need a car or not, what is wrong with my present car, so on and so forth. So, our emotional grooming, sifting, separating, and retaining also needs to be done on a regular basis. And more than that, why are we doing this? Why am I taking care of my body? Why am I taking care of my emotions? That why is answered for us when we undertake our spiritual grooming. The question of why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? Why should I share this information with my students? Why should you, who are so experienced, so knowledgeable, much more than I am, should take out time and be sitting in this session? Why? That is answered for you through spiritual evolution, through spiritual inquiry into everything that you do. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that kind of grooming is also very essential. I feel that if we initiate or introduce our students to the spiritual element of life, and having a spiritual quest, a line of questioning or inquiry of their own for their own life, they will be able to make better decisions for themselves. They will be much more socially oriented. They will also have better clarity about their goals, and their planning and organization will also improve. So please work on these three aspects with your students. It will help them in multiple ways. Of course, the way to influence someone is through sheer force or coercion, and that too, that influence is not an influence of love. It is an influence that is gained through fear. So it is an influence that is gained through submission. Then there is another influence that comes through surrender from the other person, wherein the other person willingly surrenders their ego, their mind, their capacity for independent thinking, their capacity for thinking differently and on purpose, contradictory to how you are thinking or planning. When they do that, that surrender or that influence is gained by being a role model, by presenting them the best version of yourself, so that you inspire them to be the best version of themselves. So to become an influential personality, to receive surrender from the others whomsoever we come into contact with, we need to present our best versions, and that comes through grooming. And like I said, grooming is not only physical in nature, it is also emotional and spiritual grooming. So when the entire package is well groomed, right, then the surrender happens, and then every opportunity becomes achievable and accomplishable. When I look at the three dimensions, I'm again wavering more into the spiritual aspect of life here, and perhaps talking a little bit more philosophically. But I feel that our whys are answered by deeper thinking. So, like I said, it's the spirit which has come here to this world to fulfill a purpose, and for that it needs a soul. A soul has an ego, because at the spirit level we all are one. I don't see a difference in you, and I don't see a difference in someone who's walking on the road, and I did not would not have seen a difference on Sonu Nigam sitting on the roadside singing. I would not have seen a difference. So at spirit level we are all one, but then there are certain things, there's certain ambit or certain collection of karmas that we need to dissipate and take care of. And that for that we need an ego, which means that it should throw challenges in our way, that something which we can do so naturally sitting on the roadside with the beggar and eating, that ego should stop us from doing that, right? So that ego, when that element of ego, when it connects with our spirit, it becomes our soul, and that is taken care of through our emotional grooming. And when the soul needs to dispense the actions, it takes up a body, and that grooming is taken care of through physical grooming. So our all these three dimensions, the purpose of ours coming to this plane and taking birth, fulfilling our life's purpose, gaining satisfaction, and earning the currency, not only of wealth but also of aura, the spiritual energy, the spiritual currency, is fulfilled when we take a look at grooming from the physical dimension, from the emotional dimension, and from the spiritual dimension. It helps us to get the coveted first chance. If all of us are lined up, all of us are similar scoring or students of the same batch, and we have scored perhaps 5, 10 marks above or below each other, but the first impression or the first look opportunity will be given to the person who promises that they are made or cut out for the job or the responsibility, and that promise is conveyed through the first impression that they create through their grooming. Someone who's disheveled, sitting on the roadside and singing beautifully, would not be able to sell lakhs and lakhs of tickets at a huge amount, but would be the recipient of 12 rupees from someone, right? So that helps us. Grooming helps us to stand out. If I'm not emotionally resolved, if my emotions are not resolved, if I have not done any emotional grooming, I had a bad day with my mother when I was leaving for college, and I had an argument with her, and I have not taken care of those emotions, those residual emotions, I may be very well turned out. But when I reach, I have a scowl. Unknowingly, I'm carrying a scowl, or my cheeks are flushed because of the anger that has risen to my head, and or else my hands are sweaty and clammy because of the perspiration, because of increased heat, because of anger in my body. I will not be well groomed, despite taking care of myself physically and having known that, oh, internally my mother and I are the same spirit. But the emotional grooming has not happened. The same way, I'm emotionally sorted, I'm physically sorted, but I will not venture out to connect with someone thinking there is a difference between them and me. I will not speak. And here I'm reminded of an opportunity where my children and I, in the year 2010 and 11, we used to go to a big first 5 star or 6 star hotel in Chandigarh, where they offered swimming classes in the penthouse. So the access to the penthouse was through a single use, a one-time use key for getting into the lift and then into the penthouse. The key would not allow us to, open the lift at any other floors where the rooms were available. And I would go there with from my office. I'll carry a bag which would have a change of clothing, and my office has a washroom which is very decent, and I can use it to change. And that it's at a 10-minute drive from my office, the hotel. and my children are at a 10-minute drive from my office. So they would come ready in their swimming costume, perhaps wearing a cloak over it, or a very casual dress over their swimming costume. And I would be dressed in my formals and carrying my bag. And then I would go up the lift and change in the washrooms of the swimming area and then get into my attire for swimming. I was the butt of many jokes that you have all the place and space and time, but still you'd like to waste your time and perhaps create an impression of yourself in a first 5 or 6 stars hotel that we have in Chandigarh. I was the butt of many jokes, but I said I cannot step out without being properly turned out, because I do not know when the opportunity might come, and it will not make me feel very confident, dressed in casual, going up to the reception, requesting for a key, explaining to them that I need to access the penthouse for swimming and all that. So I was butt of many jokes. This continued for many months. But once, as we were about to enter the lift, and there we saw exiting the lift Mr. Ratan Tata. And I have been a huge fan of his since the time he handled the Mumbai blast scenario and the entire episode with his team and his employees. And without a second thought, I started raving about it and started speaking to him. His guards came on and they told me, they tried to move me aside, but Mr. Ratan Tata gave them, told them through gestures that no, let it be. And at that time, we had seating in the waiting area, in the lobby area of the hotel. We sat down there and I talked very animatedly with him. And I felt no qualms in talking, sitting and talking to him. Why? Because I was well groomed in that moment. I did not know when the opportunity might arrive, and I wasn't anticipating that. But since I was well turned out, I was well groomed, I had the confidence. So that is why it is very important for all of us to be ready in every moment, not when the opportunity comes, because we cannot predict when the opportunity would come to us. That is why it is a big barometer of our attitude. It helps us to improve our performance, and it is a huge morale booster and infuses us with a lot of confidence. These are the few areas which are aspects of grooming. Of course, looks we need to work upon, our soft skills, our communication skills, the way we dress, and our attitude. The emotional grooming is part of our attitude, and also the spiritual grooming. The posture, the hairstyle, all need to be taken care of on a daily basis, and that too regularly. But harping upon it or focusing upon it shouldn't be so much, shouldn't be the sole prerogative, or should not be the sole activity that one is performing every moment. Because after all, grooming, dressing well, carrying ourselves well, deportment which is well defined, well structured, and acceptable is there to support us in fulfilling the main role. We should not restrict ourselves to only being well groomed and well turned out, and that's it. No, we should then, when the machinery is well oiled and ready, it should be used for what it is meant to be put to use for. Certain things that you need to remind your students about when they are looking at grooming. I'm quickly checking the time. When they are looking at grooming is the do's and don'ts. First thing is they should dress up in parity with the role. You can perhaps cite the example of Sachin Tendulkar going to Rajya Sabha. He did not dress up in casual clothes, his keds and jeans. No, he dressed up in a very formal attire, which was pertinent to him being a sitting parliamentarian in the Rajya Sabha. And we should always be very well turned out, because we do not know when the opportunity comes our way. And like every other thing that we schedule, so getting ready, getting dressed every day should also have an allocation of time to grooming. And grooming should happen regularly. Like I was saying earlier, due to neglect and due to lack of proper care, upkeep, and maintenance of ourselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, a lot of irreparable damage and loss can happen to us. We can end up losing something that was ours to keep for all time had we taken care of it. So it should be done regularly, it should be part of our schedule. We should be aware of the latest developments in grooming. Why? because there are certain things that change and become the acceptable social norm, and once they become acceptable, there is a certain embedded message that is conveyed through that type of grooming or dressing up or deportment. And we should be abreast, especially our students, our youngsters should be abreast of these latest developments and the ways to market themselves and speak about themselves without having to utter words every time. But when you, as teachers, are well groomed, well turned out always, then you inspire them to be groomed and how to take care of themselves. Of course, one should not overdo grooming. And here I'd like to share the ending quote before I go on to the next part of today's session, that is etiquette. This is by Amy Cuddy, and she is a body language expert of the new age. And she says, our bodies change our minds, and our minds can change our behavior, and our behavior can change our outcomes. So, the way we take our how we take care of our mind, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our attitude influences our behavior, our conduct, our deportment, and that goes on to influence and change our outcomes, our interactions, and consequences of our social conversations. So much in our life depends upon turning the mirror inward and working on ourselves. And let's begin our presentation for the next part of this session, and that is etiquette. Here I have included professional etiquette. Why? Because I thought that a profession or getting into a job would be the paramount pursuit for all our students. And as role models, as teachers, you will have ample opportunities to present to them good examples of professional etiquette or etiquette in a professional setting. So they will be able to learn not only through sharing of concepts that I hope to do today with all of you, but also through experiential learning, through learning imparted through example setting by you when they see you in a professional setting at your workplace. So, what is etiquette? Etiquette is all about respect. And we cannot give something that we do not have, that we lack. If there's a deficit in our account of something, we cannot lend it. It definitely needs to be available with us in plentiful amounts. So, respecting ourselves first so that we are able to respect the others. It is about developing and using appropriate social skills. We need to know that we are living in a shared space. This earth, this planet is a shared space. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, it is a shared space not only with other humans, but also all the other life forms. So we need to express, we need to offer that respect, that sense of understanding that yes, this is a shared space. So I cannot consider it my personal property and treat and use it the way I like without second thoughts as to whether it is in a pliable, usable, and useful condition for the other life forms that share this space, this planet with me. So, this understanding and modifying our conduct and behavior in tandem with this understanding, which is seeped in respect, is called etiquette. There's an etiquette of doing everything which shows or which utters utmost respect to ourselves, to the thing or to the resource that we are using or the resource that we are engaging with in that activity, and how that respect is translated for all the other users and all the other life forms present in that scenario. Etiquette usually covers these aspects of our personality, conduct, and behavior: the mannerism, the way in which we speak, the way in which we use our words. That is mannerism. Behavior, the way in which we use our body, the way in which we conduct ourselves. That is behavior. The cultural norms. Are we mindful of the cultural norms? Do we follow them, or are we rebel without a cause? And if it does not appeal to me, I will follow and I will break and I will disrespect all the cultural norms. And beyond that, do we know how we need to handle ourselves so that we do not come across as an element causing a lot of menace and anxiety to others around us, especially someone getting into a new cultural setting, like getting married into a new family, joining a job with an organization which was hitherto unknown to them. Shifting for further education outside the country, one needs to be mindful of the etiquette of that place, the social norm, the expected rules of conduct and behavior of that place, of that set of people, of that organization, of that family. So it's very easy to understand the ABCs of image or ABCs of etiquette. First is appearance. We need to be mindful of how we appear to the others, the what is acceptable, what is not acceptable by the others. Of course, it includes the color of our skin, it includes the color of the skin of other people, the colors that play a lot in our situation and social setting, the clothes, the wardrobe that we are wearing, the grooming that we have imparted ourselves. Are we disheveled when we are going out, or do we pay the respect to ourselves and to the others to comb our hair, to be properly dressed? Not many people will be coming to the roadside to drop their children wearing their night dress when we go outside our country, when we leave India and go towards the Western world, because they follow the social etiquette that the other person should not feel awkward looking at us in our night dress. We may be okay with flaunting our night dress and letting our most private personal attire up for public display, but it can make the other person feel uh, immodest. It can make the other person feel awkward that he or she had to accidentally look at something that was meant only for the confines of my bedroom. So these kind of adhering to norms, spoken and unspoken rules, part of grooming, is part of etiquette, our behavior towards the other. We all say that when we travel to the Western world, travel to the other countries, the strangers smile at each other, wish each other, they tip their hat towards whosoever passes them by on the road. But that etiquette we can also offer, we can also extend to our own citizens in our own country, in our own community, neighborhood, and family. We can be civil to each other while driving on the road. Road rage and being uncivil on the road has become the coolest norm for the youngsters. Flaunting rules, disobeying them, disobeying authority, being a rebel without a cause is somehow something that displays a macho attitude and has become an acceptable norm. But that conveys such an unpleasant view of their intrinsic personality that this person would rather throw a log or a stick in a turning wheel and bring everything to a standstill, would rather induce disorderliness in everything that is going in an organized and in a manner of decorum. Why? Because he or she gets a kick, an adrenaline rush out of it, and gets to prove some kind of a macho or a sense of bravado and accomplishment through it. No, that needs to be checked, that needs to be rectified. Communication is an important part of our etiquette. Offering the three pleasant words of please, sorry, and thank you with genuine feelings is something that forms as part of lubrication in difficult times, that helps in easing out the strains of a difficult relationship and helps us to move forward easily, smoothly into the next level and the next stage of our life. Etiquette simply means knowing how to act, being mindful of our own selves, looking at ourselves, constant gaze towards our own conduct and behavior without being reactive to the other person's bad behavior, maintaining the decorum and the civility within ourselves speaks volume of our self control, speaks volume of our ability to manage a situation, speaks volume of our ability to lead others to the higher path, to the better way of conducting oneself. When I talk about professional etiquette, ladies and gentlemen, these are the things that this is not an exhaustive list, but these are the important things that can come to our mind when we talk about professional etiquette. It is the etiquette of how we behave or conduct ourselves in the office, physic etiquette, how we sit, how we stand. Are we standing with a hand on our waist and tilting to one side? That is part of an etiquette. Cubicle etiquette, if we happen to share a huge space with many other people, sitting in a cubicle which is not a completely confined or completely private or personal space, it is still open but confined and restricted, then how do we conduct ourselves? How do we carry out the handshake? With whom should we carry out the handshake first? When should a handshake happen? And how should you introduce people? This is part of etiquette. How do we make a phone call? How we talk to them? This all is part of telephone etiquette. And email etiquettes, we are sending out so many of them, and we think that since there are certain people who are sending out marketing emails with or without our permission, we also have the permission, implicit permission, to send out random emails to anyone and anywhere. But your email is not a marketing email. It needs to follow certain norms and dictates of social and professional ethics and etiquette. So, what are the office etiquettes that I can share with you? Always be self-aware. How am I sitting? With whom am I sitting? Am I cracking a joke on a co-worker that is below the belt, that has a lot of distaste and displeasure to it? Why am I cracking a joke on a co-worker? We should use common sense, something which is not so common. The common sense is not to hurt anyone. It is, if someone met with you, they should leave you feeling better about themselves and in turn better about you, and in turn better about the surroundings, the extended physical environment, the organization. But common sense is easy to grasp and develop when one has this barometer, that whenever someone leaves after meeting with you or interacting with you, sitting with you, or just sitting in sharing a space with you, sitting with you in silence, they leave with the feeling of feeling better about themselves. That is common sense. We should mind our own business without asking unnecessary questions, because too much of information in any case is not very helpful. And sometimes that too much information comes with this consequences. She knew, then why did you not do anything about it? Because it was not my place to do anything about it. Then why did you know it? That means you'd been gossiping. So those kind of things also need to be part of our mental grooming, our emotional grooming. Avoiding strong perfume, because we might like our perfume. We might like to announce to the world through the waft of our perfume, which precedes us by kilometers, that we have arrived, but it could irritate someone else's nasal tracts, and it can seem very tacky and crying for attention. So we should not do that. Never go over your supervisor's head, look upon someone's head, or look from their back trying to read or trying to tell them something. Always stand in front of them and then communicate, so that your entire body is visible, and the 93%, all of your 93% of body language is visible for them to interact with, to feel secure, safe about you, and not to have any otherwise impressions about you. Obey your company's business dress attire. Tell them to obey. If they're turning up for studying in an academic institution, they cannot be dressed like rock stars. When Sachin Tendulkar entered the parliament, he cannot be dressed like the $1 million sports star that he is. He has to come like a parliamentarian. So this is how, according to the role, their attire changes, and that changes their attitude, their mind, and their conduct. We need to be given into rules of hygiene, washing, and not leaving the area, the surfaces dirty after our use. We need to be careful if we are suffering from cold or some other kind of infection, and it's not extremely contagious. We can turn up for work or in a place of social setting. We can wear a mask, or carry with ourselves some kind of a hand sanitizer to regularly take care of ourselves. We should treat every employee with the same respect, not only our supervisors and seniors, but also our colleagues and people who are working, who are lower in rank with us, and also the peon or the blue collared employee of the organization, because spiritual grooming is very important for us to follow the norms of etiquette, knowing that we are one within. At the spirit level, we all are one of the same fabric. That understanding to every moment will keep us in our etiquette at all times. We should not post something which can be minutely or even indirectly offensive for anyone. Why? Because it will create a sense of unpleasantness. It will disturb the group dynamics, and we are nothing without the group. We cannot function, perform, or even succeed without the support of our group. And no matter whatever your job title is, you always hold yourself to higher standard. If others around you, in your team, in your group, are behaving in a manner which is not full of etiquette, which is not acceptable by the norms of the organization, you hold yourself high. You do not have to be part of the herd mentality. We should not ask personal questions at work. And whatever be the situation or the case, we must always follow the rules of social etiquette, because not only is a professional organization, we do tend to make certain friendships, have some kind of a social interaction with our employees, and that helps, that creates a feeling of wholesomeness, that helps us to feel good about our work, our organization. So we cannot be totally sterile and objective and devoid of all emotions when we are interacting with our colleagues and co-workers. We need to follow them. So what are the particular manners that you should be aware of? You need to be aware of your manners, especially when you're feeling out of sorts, when emotional grooming has not been that good or strong. When you're in company of someone else, definitely your social etiquette should. So, as I was saying, when should one be aware of their social etiquette, especially when one is feeling little emotionally out of sorts? Emotional grooming has not been of the utmost level, that thorough. When we are in the company of someone else, of course, when someone else is with us, we need to be aware of our social etiquette. When we are in an informal setting, we forget that even though the setting is informal, we need to conduct ourselves in a manner which is seeped with social etiquette. Here I'm reminded of a student whom we were coaching for taking the interview for Jet Airways, and this is 2011. And Jet Airways had opened after many years, 6, 7, or 10 years, for inducting commercial pilots uh, into their organization. And this person, Baltej Nanda, had been preparing for many years. He had made more than 100 plus flying hours to his credit, was an instructor in a flight school in Madhya Pradesh, and he came to us for preparation. And he went to Mumbai where the interviews were conducted. And he said, "Ma'am, they are conducting interviews in CCD. It is such an informal setting, and they are themselves sitting in a jeans and t-shirt and sneakers. And you've told me to dress up almost in tandem with the uniform of a commercial pilot: black turban, white shirt, black trousers, laced up black shoes, polished thoroughly, black socks, belt in place, and wearing a watch. Today my turn did not come on the first day, but I think my turn will come tomorrow. Do you think I should change my clothing?" I said, "No, definitely not. That's a ploy, because they want to know your intrinsic personality, the way you actually conduct yourself, and they would throw crisis and stress based situations, interview questions at you to know how you would react and respond. Such an expensive aircraft running in crores of rupees, so many lives on board. You are responsible not only for the jet, for the aircraft, the property, but the reputation of the organization. They would not like to give it to someone who comes across with a casual attitude in an informal setting. Do not change your attire. He was the only one. He was the laughing stock. He was the only one who went in formal attires. Only two people were selected, and he was one of them. That is the importance of social etiquette. That is the importance of grooming. How the best opportunity falls into our lap. Why? Because we are prepared for it. And especially when we are with ourselves, we can sit and we can slide and we can eat in any manner. But when the situation of crisis or stress or overwhelming emotion comes, the way when Saurav Ganguly, who's otherwise very reticent or comes across as a shy person, or came across as a shy person to the media and the journalists, but did not bat an eyelid when at Lords he took off his t shirt, swirled it around, and threw it in the playground when India played a very fine innings. That gave away a lot about his personality than so many multiple instances of him choosing not to speak with the media and the journalists and to come across as a shy person. No. So the way we conduct ourselves, the way we carry ourselves when no one is around, is the way we are most comfortable in deportment and carrying ourselves around. And that also needs to be under our scanner.
Didi,
I'm not.
that reminds me of a incident.
Yes,
I
sir.
learned it long back in my sports career.
Hmm.
What happened is that when you are representing India, let us say if you are a international player,
Hmm.
you wear international colors on your
Yes, sir.
blazers. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, I found on my first national championship
G.
that there was a player.
Hmm.
Now he is a coach,
G,
and
sir.
he never wore that. He was wearing the coat, but he was not wearing India badge.
Hmm.
Call it a color. We call it color only. But
Yes.
he was wearing the this thing, but he was not wearing. On
Hmm.
the last day when his team won, that
G.
coach,
Hmm.
his own team come, his own state team come, won in the national. He
Hmm.
wore that color,
Hmm.
and I went to him. His
Hmm.
name is Ismail. He is now national coach of India in rowing sport.
Very
I went
nice.
I went to Ismail and I asked him, Ke, Ismail, why were you not wearing this? I knew him very well because we were contemporary in the rowings and he was always winning. I was always a loser.
Yeah.
uh, then he said कि प्रमोद that would give a impression to people कि मैं अपनी बड़ी हवा में हूँ, मैं यहाँ पे घूम रहा हूँ. I
Hmm.
didn't want to give this impression to the people that I am a
Hmm.
national international player and this and that.
Hmm.
And what if my team loses?
Oh.
इससे कि बड़ा कोच आया है इंटरनेशनल और इसकी टीम देखो कहाँ पहुंची है.
Hmm.
And today I have 4 medals
Hmm.
and everybody is settled down. We are in a formal this thing occasion of
Hmm.
the closing ceremony. So I am
Hmm.
wearing the national color also here. I
Hmm.
mean, I you learn a lot when you move in that arena. What is the attire? What is the mannerism? What is the etiquette?
Hmm.
All those things matter a lot. I learned a lot. I was never wearing my international umpiring badge,
Hmm.
in my national championships.
Hmm. Hmm.
Never, ever.
Hmm.
And we are not allowed to enter in the boat
Hmm.
if I am not wearing that when I am umpiring the international championships.
Hmm. Hmm.
All those things are very very important things
Yes.
we learn. We must uh, you did a wonderful job. Please carry on. That just prompted me to share that experience with.
Thank you so much for sharing that valuable experience.
उस
So,
समय मेरे को लग रहा था कि if I were at his place I would have first day worn, I told everyone that I am a international champion here.
yes, yes, but that also, managing our conduct and managing the throw of our personality or the manifestation, demonstration of our personality, so that the others don't feel awkward or do not feel belittled. They also feel equally respected. Is also a part of social etiquette. And these very valuable lessons, like sir was sharing, only happens when we go out into the world and interact. And as I was saying earlier, social etiquette is something which is a big gap or a lacuna in our younger generation or the present generation, because they have minimal social interactions. They need to pay extra efforts in knowing this. There's an etiquette in holding the teacup. You hold the teacup with the two.
I call it lack of social skills.
Yes, social
Lack
skill.
of social skills, which is really, really affecting our everyday life
Yes.
when we are interacting with our family members, with the
Yes.
strangers, with the, I mean, our students, because when they are in 10th class, we start giving them a lot of academic pressure का आपको IIT में जाना है, आपको MBBS में जाना है, आपको
Mm.
law में जाना है, आपको ये स्कूल में जाना है, आपको IIM में जाना है.
G.
They do not get opportunity to interact with the family and friends.
Yes.
Many of them,
Yes.
especially people who are going to the premier institutions in the country.
Yes.
They lack social skills, and which is reflected in their etiquette, mannerism, and behavior also.
Yes. And also, sir, whenever they have the time, pleasure time or the free time these days, they rather spend it in solitude, or if not solitude, in their own company by looking at a screen, because all entertainment is coming from there. Earlier, the entertainment was happening by playing in the field with, even if it was gully cricket, with our friends, or going to a friend's place, ringing the bell, answering congenially, respectfully, beseeching, cajoling the parent of our friend that please let your son come out for half an hour or an hour. We will not be late. I promise, and let us play. That in itself was such important training for developing social skills and social etiquette. Now we've done away the need for it. Why? Because students or youngsters have understood that they can fulfill their need for stimulation and release of happy hormones through media. I'll
And
quickly
that is causing. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you again.
got it
That
on.
is causing a big concern in our Indian schools also now.
Yes.
In the Western world, people have faced it.
Yes.
Bullying is one thing which is going on rampantly in Western countries, in USA, in
Yes.
many of the European countries, and it is now beginning to happen in India. I am now, I was very happy that India में ये नहीं हो रहा. So,
Yeah.
but then now when I read the headlines,
It is.
uh, government and many organizations are trying to now, have that control on that bullying attitude of some of the children in the schools also, and
Yes.
that is the offshoot of lack of
Social skills.
social skills and
Yes.
etiquettes and
It-
mannerism.
Yes. So here I'd like to wind up the session by sharing a very important process which can help our students to understand why social skills or etiquette and interest and attention to grooming and mannerism is important for them. So there's a perception of them by the others who look at them, and it can, through two stages, turn into a reality about them. So there is initial perception, the first look, and the thought that accompanies that first impression or first look that happens in the mind of the beholder. And there is sustained perception which happens over a period of time because of repeated behavior and evidence supporting that behavior. So initial perception here comprises of their appearance, manner, style, and awareness. That's it. And most of the times the youngsters are just focused on this. How am I looking? Am I walking like a dude or a girl with a lot of panache or whatever and style? And am I aware which kind of words to use, which language, and all that? But attention to just these superficial or the outer layer aspects of our personality, of our etiquette, is not enough. Why? Because there is a sustained perception that happens in the minds of the beholder when they keep observing and drawing inferences or deductions about someone's attitude, because there's a repeated way in which someone behaves, interacts, conduct themselves, their integrity, how they speak, how much value and respect they give to their own words, and how much value and respect they give to the resources available with them, and not only their own to use and own, but also of the others, the space, the discipline with which they carry themselves, they conduct themselves, how organized they are. These the focus, the attention to these two aspects, initial perception and also coupled with sustained perception, will help them to develop good, high standards of social etiquette. There's lots of information still left uncovered by me, but these are just rules and I will not go to them now. These are all covered in the handouts because I've surpassed the time of 4 p.m. by 10 minutes. So please forgive me for ending it here. If there's any question, advice, or suggestion for me, I'm open for it now.
Uh, Before we invite the questions, let me give a very big round of applause. My friends sitting here and my online friends can also unmute and share. So much vast. There is a etiquette for everything. I learned from her. There is a etiquette for everything. For everything. I mean, if your pen just by accidentally fall down on the ground, and you know how you pick it up, uska bhi ek etiquette hai. There are so many jokes. There are so many other things also on the etiquette and mannerism. But then she has tried to. वो समुंदर है पूरा का पूरा sea है, ocean है. She has brought some of the best pearls which can be useful to us as our role as a teacher, as a mentor, as a guide, as a counselor to our students. She has shared those things with very, very apt and relevant examples. Ma'am, you have done a wonderful job. And my own personal learning always takes place. I am very selfish in attending the sessions because my own learning always keep on enhancing. I'm sure my participants must have learned a lot during this session.